so first things first is we're gonna go ahead and get a plate. I like to use foam plates because it doesn't absorb all the moisture out of my paint. And we're gonna go ahead and put out all of the colors of our primary colors, our red, our yellow, and our blue. So those are the colors that we'll need out first. So we'll do some red. I'm doing a little 8x10 canvas, so actually I'm probably putting out more color than I need. Don't need a lot, but the background sometimes will absorb a decent amount of color also, so you never know. It's one of those things you can't put the color back into the tube, so it's probably best just to put some out and you can always add. Yeah. So I've got my primary colors. If you're doing classes with me, you'll know that I only use in my paintings the primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then we use black and white, and then we try to mix all the other colors from there. And we did that when we did the Christmas tree. You saw how we took some other colors and we kind of changed it to different colors by mixing them. So it's amazing all the different colors that you can make with that. So I've got my 3 primary colors. I'm going to take my example because I need my blank canvas here. I'll take the example, set it over there. Wait, let's see here. Move the sponges. And you see the example too? Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my big flat brush. The reason we're doing the brush for the background instead of the sponge is I want to be able to control what color I'm doing. I really don't want to mix too many of these colors. If you can see, to try to keep them the yellow, really more yellow. Once we start putting colors on a sponge, it's really hard to rinse it out. So a brush is going to give us a lot more control for that. So always with a brush, they do not like to start wet, dry. They like to start damp. So we always take it in the water and then just drag off the extra on the edge of our cup. This is my paint mug. It has got lots of paint love. And if you could see the inside, you would really not want to drink out of this mug ever. So yeah, it's really handy. But yeah, don't ever drink your paint water. So first thing is going to be really easy. We're going to start with yellow and get that nice bright yellow streak in the center of our canvas. And this is just going to be an up and down motion. So I'm just going to grab some yellow and I'm just going to come in the very center right here and just go up and down on my canvas. And it's going to seem really, really bright. Some of that will not be as bright when we get to bring in some of the darker colors, but we're just going to do a nice bright yellow streak in the center of the canvas, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about being exactly in a certain spot either. It's just more that we've got that block of color there that we're going to work with. So I've done the yellow. I'll let you do that right in the center. And then I've rinsed out my brush because I want, when I get the next color, I don't want to actually be mixing as much of the colors from one to the other. Even though they might a little bit, because when we paint right beside each other, they might mix, they might blend a little bit, which is fine. And sometimes my example paintings end up a little sideways because I'm sitting beside it instead of looking straight on. So you guys, if you start seeing me tilt a little bit, don't worry. You're supposed to be a little more straight on to your painting and it will help you better. All right. Got that yellow in. Anna, are you doing a larger canvas or smaller canvas this time?
A small one tonight.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure and give you the time that you might.
I'm all ready now.
Okay.
I'll let you know those times that I do when it will be real abstract, I will definitely do the bigger ones.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure for timing wise.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Time that you need.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. So now, if you see, now we've got, let's grab some red. So I'm gonna grab red now, And I'm just going to do a streak of red just right beside that yellow. I'm really not trying to go over top of it. It's okay if it does, but I'm just trying to go all the way down and do a nice red streak. Now I'm going to save a little room because I want to have some room for some blue beside it. So if you're on a smaller canvas like me, then you really don't need that much, if you see that. And then I'm going to rinse my brush out really well. I am not super worried about finishing out the colors all the way at the bottom and the top. Those are going to end up being covered up with black anyway, but it is still good to get your colors all the way down if you want to. I missed a little spot for that yellow. I'll rinse that out. And then rinse, 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 and then wipe off the extra on the edge. And then I can grab some blue this time. We'll just do straight blue. And I'll just come on the other side of the yellow and we'll just do a stripe of blue. So this, I mean, this background is pretty simple. You probably guessed part of what we'd be doing when you saw the painting. You're like, wow, it looks like we're just going to do some streaks of color, and we are. I can see I get a little bit of green as they cross over, which is okay. But I could cover that back over a little bit later. I'm really not trying to get the green. I'm trying to stick with some more of the primary color showing through. And then with the blue still on my paintbrush, I'm going to go ahead and do the blue on the other side of the red. So I don't have to rinse. I'm already there. And going to do some blue right over here. And again, where they cross over, they might make kind of a different color. It looks a little dark and stuff. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and just fill that out there. So right now we've got those blocks of color. I'm going to really, really rinse out the blue because blue is a very saturated color when it comes to paint. And you'll probably notice that your water will turn very blue when you rinse out your brush. And then the last thing, I'm going to just put in a block of red to finish out this one. So it's like a pattern, but it wasn't every other, I guess it is. It's red, blue, yellow, red, blue. Ended up being a pattern. I don't remember what that pattern name was called. I think we had those names for those when we were in elementary school. And I've pulled a little bit of blue in with this one. It's okay. I'm just going to go with it. It's making a dark streak in mine, but that's not going to bother me because actually later on we're going to be streaking in some black anyway. So whoop, there we go. Okay, now that was a really big streak, so maybe I might rinse that out and then just go back over with a little red. That kind of stuff happens. See, I love being able to show you guys that I mess up also. So there's no messing up actually. We think that we're messing up. We can fix a lot of stuff. We can go with it. We can do a lot. Art is not about being perfect. And I'm sad whenever someone feels like they can't do art because they can't do it perfectly. Because that's not the point of art. The point of art is to explore, to express, and to have fun always. So I'm gonna let this go ahead and dry some. While that's drying, if you finish with that background, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my black, the black color, and I'll go ahead and put it out. And I kind of like, I'm gonna put it on the opposite side of my my plate way over here. And I'm actually gonna kind of do it as like a line, as you can see that, instead of a blob. because I'm going to put my sponge into it, it'll be easier for me to kind of get the paint on the sponge if the paint's a little more in a line than a blob. So where did I put my sponge? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so right now our background seems really bright. First thing, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you see the background right now, Jesse? You don't know? What do you think? Do you have an idea? I think of circus, like it's really, really bright, like a circus tent or something almost, which is not what we're going for. But isn't it funny? Sometimes paintings start looking one way, and then as you start adding more to it, and we add a different layer, it will change. So yeah, when I first started trying to do this painting, I was like, oh, this might be way too bright. It might be way too bright. It looks really bright. Too much. All right. Let everybody catch up with our backgrounds. Once you're done with that, we can rinse out our large brush and put that to the side. We won't need that anymore. We don't want that to dry and harden. When acrylic paint hardens, it actually turns into a form of plastic, which is why it will turn very, very hard. And hard to get back out again. Although if you have rubbing alcohol that you can soak your paintbrush in, you can loosen that back up. That's a little trick. All right. Kendall, Sydney, how are we doing? Doing good? All right. And you got your background all set in now? Yep. Okay. Kendall, I still see you with a paintbrush. That's why I was asking. So you good? Okay. you're just making sure you got all the little spots, aren't you? I know you. I remember that you always like making sure you get it all right. Okay. So the next thing we're going to actually grab is a kitchen sponge. One of the fun things about a kitchen sponge is it gives us a chance to kind of do like a dragging and kind of pulling of paint, which is such a fun technique. It's the same thing that you would do if you were doing a palette knife, but this is a much cheaper version and disposable if it doesn't work out. So what we're going to do is take our kitchen sponge, and the thing that we are going to be the edge that we're going to be painting with is like this edge right here. Now mine's kind of rounded. Mine ended up being like a weird rounded shaped sponge instead of square. So it's a round edge. I like it normally if it's more flat, but that's okay. But so we're not putting the paint in the center. We're not putting it on the top right here. We're going to use this edge right here. And that's where we're going to kind of put our paint and then be able to, let's see if I can do this. So we're kind of like pulling it down like that. So then when I say pull, we're going to kind of have our sponge kind of at an angle where just that edge is touching. And then we take it and we touch it to the paint or to the canvas, and then we pull it down and we kind of pull the paint. So that's what I mean when we say pull. So we're going to take the sponge and we're kind of load up right on that edge. So then you can see I've got paint just on that edge right there. It's not all the way on the top. It's not in the center of the sponge. It's right on that edge. And we can get a decent amount. Honestly, it doesn't go super far because the sponge will also try to start to absorb some of it. So then I'm going to come up. I know probably like you guys, like this is still a little wet. It's okay. It's all right. Because black, luckily, will cover up any of our colors anyway. So we can kind of go a little bit with its wet. So I'm going to go to the edge right up here, and I'm going to touch it to the top, and then I'm just going to pull it down. And as I pull it down, I'm going to kind of get lighter and lighter until I kind of stop. And so it's darker, it's thicker up there, and then I pull and kind of get lighter and lighter to where it kind of feathers out right there. And I'm going to do that, we're going to do that all the way across the top, and then we'll do it again from the bottom going up. But what we're going to try to do is keep some of, we're not going to try to cover up all of the color. So if I go and it gets too black like that, that's way too much, right? I'm going to make sure and try to go lighter as I pull. See, I probably had so much paint, I can do this all the way across. So I'm going to be kind of pulling it down across the canvas, and then I'm going to kind of pull some down on the edge. So I still want to see that color, right? I don't want to cover it all up. And then from the bottom, I can touch and pull up. So that's how we're getting this darker color, but we're going to try to kind of leave the center part where it's got more of that color still showing. So we don't really pull all the way to the center. That. And actually, this is very interesting for me to do this with the rounded sponge. It's wanting to fight me a little bit, but that's okay. See, I fight with my my tools sometimes too, and then you just have to figure it out. And I've kind of got, see where we have it, it is going to be more solid at the very top and the very bottom, and then as we pull the colors towards the center, it's going to kind of do that. And then I'm going to, without a lot of paint on there, in fact, I might even just kind of wipe a little bit of the paint, I'm going to gently go all the way over the color a little bit so I can kind of see where, see that yellow? Now with just a little bit of the black kind of streaked over it, it's not so bright anymore. I kind of toned it down. You see that? And that's kind of nice. We were trying not to go too bright. So sometimes as you're pulling, if you push a little bit harder, you can get more paint in certain spots. But if you don't want it as much, then you just go lighter. The other trick also with using our sponge is, this is the perfect time to do the edge of our canvas. So if you have a canvas that has an edge right here, using the side of using your sponge and just kind of wiping right here, you can get the whole edge and just get it black. And that makes the whole painting look finished, which is really easier, we have found, than using a paintbrush. A paintbrush, you'll sit here and try to like make sure it all lines up. The sponge, you just kind of rub it right on there and it finishes that. In fact, every time I do it with a sponge, I wish I remembered and did it more often with a sponge. Because I keep forgetting how easy it is just to basically scrub the edge with a sponge and some black paint. By the way, also turning your painting around at any time to check and see the way it looks, or if it's tough for you to go up and it's easier to just pull down, then turn your painting a different direction.
That's what I did.
Yeah, always. If it's like, I can only pull down easier than going up, then just...
But it's easier because you have that thing that it's sitting on, and that's why it makes it a little harder.
Right, yeah. Also, yeah, if you have the easel edge and stuff, sometimes this easel edge really fights me, and I have to try to make sure I'm getting to the painting. So that will be helpful. Yeah, so I'm getting, this is my bottom edge right here. Now I'm able to get to that a lot easier. And I'm already, have you guys noticed how those colors in the center have really toned down some, right? They're not as bright. And I kind of did go a little extra right there, but I'm gonna just make that work for me. We'll just go with it. You know, I don't want to get upset if I feel like and it never looks exactly like my example, because I'm still me making this new. I can see what I've done before and I can try to reproduce, but it's never going to be exactly the same, and that is fine. The other thing that we're going to kind of do is we're going to take our sponge and turn it to the side, and between where the colors are, I want to show you on the example, between the colors, we're going to kind of do some lines of the black as well, that will help with kind of transitioning between the colors. So what I'm talking about is, let me get this closer. So like between this red and yellow right here, there's actually kind of like a white area because I didn't do that. I'm actually just going to kind of, I don't have a ton of paint, but I'm just going to kind of scrub with my sponge to the side some black in there, which is why this black coming up so high, that's not that big a deal, because I want black to kind of go in some different spots. So maybe I want black to extend down a little farther right here anyway, in between, because they're going to help with the transition in between the colors. So that black right there, that was a little more than I wanted. Doesn't seem as much out of place. So this is also where if you miss some spots and you see some white spots, you can take your sponge and kind of turn it to the side and kind of fill that in. I'm going to bring some of my black up a little bit more here to balance out where I kind of oopsed, but you know what? Oops, and make it work. That's fine. So yeah, I can go in any spot, like I see a little tiny white spot right there, I'm going to just use the side of my sponge and just kind of scrub in a little bit of the black. That's looking. See how the colors have really toned down by adding the black now to it, and adding black even between the sides. It has really toned down the brightness, but then we can still see some of that color popping through, which is really nice. You guys have any questions? We doing okay? Jessie is just super fast whenever I give her a sponge. She's like, man, I got this. Yeah, I think I've fixed it enough. Just have to go up a little more. Also, what's nice about the sponge is that, yeah, I can push a little harder, add some more, but I don't have to use a ton of paint as well. So this part is going to hopefully dry. You're not having to put a ton of paint on there, so it should dry a little bit faster for us. Because the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to use some chalk. And if I forgot to list chalk, I hope that you do have some. So chalk, it can be any kind of chalk. It can be sidewalk chalk. It can be, this is actually like regular chalk, and the way that I get it to a point is I actually have like a little pencil sharpener that I actually have a big pencil, like it would sharpen a big pencil, like the kindergarten size pencils, like those big fat ones, but I use my chalk in there and I sharpen it.
Oh, good to know.
Mm-hmm. I think I got that sharpener one time, like a Dollar Tree, and if you see it, it's the kind that has like the two different holes in it, and one is a larger hole.
Yeah.
That's how I sharpen my chalk.
I just bought like 3 packets of chalk because it was a better deal than just buying one, because nice. I know how much we just use chalk.
We like chalk. Chalk
Yeah.
is our friend because we can
It
always
is.
we can always erase it, and it is not permanent, and it helps us to kind of get a guideline in and stuff. So
Yeah. And I only had a little one since before for another reason, so that's why I needed some new ones.
perfect. All right, so mine is pretty dry to the touch. Also with the sponge, if you're wanting to make sure maybe it doesn't harden, you want to wash it out later, but you don't have time right now, you can kind of just almost like sit it in your water and let it just kind of soak. It's not going to go bad just sitting in your water. It's a sponge. That's what it's made for. It won't, it's not like a brush that will fall apart. But being able to rinse out your sponge means that you can use it again next time. All right, so the next things that we're going to do is we're just going to use our chalk to chalk in the lines for the dandelions. So let's look at the dandelions. And again, I like both of mine where the colors ended up. They're in different places, but it's perfectly fine. So we're going to start our first dandelion. It's nice to start with the one that's kind of more central. It's going to be right here where our yellow is. So wherever your yellow was is going to be, and kind of like in the center, which is going to be hard for you to see it probably at first where I do that. But I'm going to do a dot here, and I'm going to just bring a line down like that. So it's kind of curved. All of the dandelion stems are kind of curved. Uh-oh, somebody disappeared. Maybe she had internet issues. I'll watch and make sure and let her back in. Yeah, hold on guys, I gotta be right back, just a sec. Okay, so we've got that, and then the dandelion lines coming from that are going to go up and kind of out from it. And then they get a circle dot at the end. Like I said, I know it's harder here. I'll get it closer, like that. So it kind of, they all gather at the center, and then it kind of goes up with little circle dots on the end right there. All right. Our next one we're going to bring in a nice tall fellow right here. They're taller than our main one that we have right here. I'm going to put a spot right there that'll be, and I'll come all the way down with the stem. And then here, this dandelion kind of goes up. It's not as big. It's like one of those partial ones. So it's a little bit, doesn't fan out as much. But that one is nice and tall above our, I'll call that other one our yellow dandelion because it's the only one that really kind of goes in the yellow. And again, if you you get to, oh, there comes somebody. Here we go. Hey, Santi, what happened? Did your internet mess up on you?
No, like the charge went out.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, I have to remember to keep my laptop plugged in the whole time, or else it tries to die on me too. So what we were doing is we're using our chalk, and right now we're just drawing in the different dandelion spots. So that's what we are doing right now. We've just done these two, and we've got two more that we will do. So next one that we'll do is, let's see here. We'll do the one that's like right here beside. So we've got a little one right here, and not as tall as the yellow one, and it'll just kind of, this one kind of goes a little more straight down. I guess that's a wet spot on my canvas. That's why it's not showing.
On mine too.
Yeah. If that does that, it just means it's just a little wet, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then this one is, again, we're just going to do some some of our dandelion part right there. And then the very last one is one that's like, he's, you know, sometimes they're not all growing up straight. He's crossing over our main one, which is kind of neat. It gives us something different. So he'll actually, his base will start all the way here, but he's gonna cross over and land beside where the little one was. So there's a crossover right there, and that gives some interest and movement. And then this one's going to fan out from there. I think they average at least like 6, I feel like 6 or 7 of these little stems or the little puffs. So yeah, I know there's this part, it's so funny. This went invisible right there. There's a line there, I promise. There you go. So that is all of the dandelion ones. So the only thing now that we have to do, it's not much instruction, is go ahead, get my paint plate back out, and I'm gonna go ahead and get white. I'm gonna set white in a spot that I feel like it's not going to get everywhere. Again, start with just a little bit, and you can always add more. And this is where you need your round brush. Again, any brush does not like to start dry. It always wants to have a little moisture in it. It'll help with flow. Also, if you are like me and maybe you are doing more of a student grade paint, this is a little bit thicker than a very liquidy paint. If you have this kind, what I end up doing is grabbing a little more water. I actually add it to my plate a little bit. And if you need clean water, that's the other things we're adding to white. But sometimes I add a little bit of water to make it flow better. And so having it a little wetter. If you already have one that's a paint that's kind of more, and when it comes out, it spreads out really, really far. It doesn't make a blob, it more like spreads out. Then it's probably got enough liquid in there for you to do that. So the only thing we have to do is now we are going to paint over top of the chalk. Again, this is why we love chalk so much, is that painting right over it, it disappears. Now, it will try to start drying out your brush as well. So if you notice that you're having to maybe dip into the paint more, that's okay. Maybe wet your brush a little bit or rinse it off before you get more paint, because the chalk will start trying to build up as you're following that line. All you have to do now is just start and follow your lines of chalk. So the chalk now will become white paint. Also having a nice even pressure for the lines. The more delicate lines, they look nicer, trying to keep them so they don't start looking really, really big, right? So it's going to be kind of doing nice light pressure. I heard a teacher one time call it like, pretend that you're trying to pet a wet, angry cat. If you're trying to pet a wet, angry cat, you would barely touch. I don't think I ever want to pet a wet, angry cat, but if I did, I would have very, very, very light pressure. And again, I can tell that my brush is trying to dry out with that chalk. Ooh, also a little trick with doing the circles. Sometimes what I do is I will plant the brush right there in the center, and then I'll just kind of wobble it around and around and around until it circles to get bigger. Instead of trying to draw the circle, I'll just touch it to the canvas and then go wobble, 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 and then it makes the circle. So you go right in the center, and then I kind of just wiggle it around with it touching the canvas, and it'll make that circle for me without me trying to worry about drawing it, because sometimes that's a pain. That's a big pain. And it doesn't have to be exactly as big as your chalk drawing. After your paint dries, you'll be able to wipe off any leftover chalk. So that's not that's not a big deal. Again, the chalk is just our guide. It's a helper to us, so we feel more confident about where we've placed everything. We know now that we've got things spaced out where we want them, and then we can just be painting. I watered my paint out a little too much right here, so I'm having to go back and grab some thicker paint, especially over the yellow. It doesn't want to show up as well. That. While you guys are doing this, I want you to think, I am looking for ideas that you might want to paint. Now, we can't do something too complicated, something like an animal or a face or something like that. That would probably take a couple of classes, but I am open to ideas or anything that you've seen that you want to maybe give a try this year. So as you're painting, you can start thinking about that. And I would be more than willing to look up some ideas. Or if you see something, you say, hey, can we try and give this a try? Give me a little chance to try it out myself. I always do it first to test drive it, basically, see if it's something that we can do. And you will notice as you start looking at other paintings that me trying to stick to just the primary colors is more complicated than you would imagine, actually. And mixing from there. There are some that require lots of different colors that need to come straight out of the tube, and that's not what we want to do. I mean, we can, but that also costs a little extra more money, and we've been doing fine. We've been doing fine so far. Jesse, did you fill out all of your dandelions? You did? Can I see?
Okay. I added one
Nice.
extra
Ooh,
one
you
because I didn't
had
make
more
it
room.
big.
Yeah, your canvas is a little bit bigger, so you had more space. That's great. I love it. Ooh, I like how the one looks, that's part of the reason I said try not to do 5 so that they don't look like little weird hands, like they're at least more than 5. They're not fingers. But one of yours looks kind of like a cute alien finger. I don't know, like it may just be me, but I kind of like that.
I have like a recommendation for like another painting.
Yes, please.
You could make like a daisy or like a flower.
A daisy or a flower? Yeah, we really haven't done very many flowers, and I will be very happy to explore that. Sure. I will look that up. I already did a request from you before to do a llama. I'd never done a llama before, but that worked out not too bad.
I don't know if you've done it or not, but maybe.
And then I even did a Christmas llama because of it, because I liked that llama. It was so cute. I had to do another one.
Maybe a butterfly if you haven't already done it.
What'd you say?
Maybe a butterfly.
I have done a butterfly. We can do another one. Let's see. Where's my butterfly? Oh, there it is. See the blue one right there?
It's pretty.
We've done that one before, but I'd be willing to do that one again. That one was actually done with just kitchen sponges. That blue one right there.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. But I like butterflies anyway. I saw some. Oh, I saw a dragonfly was another idea I was going to do. So kind of that same kind of thing. It was a very colorful dragonfly. So I thought about doing that. I also like doing still abstracts where we're still kind of exploring the way that we can just put shapes and stuff. So this one is really interesting. This painting is kind of a blend between an abstract with the background and then still having an object on top, which is what I felt was a really fun way to start off our year. And so, like I said, also, as this dries, I would recommend just go ahead and wait till it's all the way dry before you try to get the chalk off. But it's a very easy thing once it's done, just to take a paper towel, a rag, or even once you've cleaned out your sponge, your kitchen sponge, very, very damp, and you can just wipe off all of the chalk lines. They disappear. No one even knows that they were there except you. And you're like, yes, yes, I just threw that on there. Here, Jesse, I want to take a picture of your finished painting. Is that okay? You can hold it back up again. Yay. What size canvas is that? Is that 11 by 14?
Yeah. Or,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good size. I feel like either the 8 by 10 or 11 by 14 is not too big. It doesn't take as long, right, Anna? to
Yeah, no, you're right. But I still go back to the big one, and occasionally.
absolutely, especially if it's something that you really like, and you're like, I think I could see that.
Yeah,
I want to
no,
go so much space. I'm gonna have to start doing my
Yeah.
paintings this big.
And that butterfly, I really actually love it. I just wondering, about other colors or just making it a little different or a little
Mhm.
bigger butterfly. But otherwise, I still love that one.
Yes, I love
still,
that. Oh, Sydney, that is really, really pretty. I love the way that turned out. Yes, good job. I can see you also did all your edges. You got all the paint on the black on your edges too. Yeah, that always, it just makes it look so finished and ready to be framed. So,
Thank you.
although actually it's not framed, you just hang it. I use push pins, and you just literally just done, like put it on there. I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording for those that are watching. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and that you maybe if you want to post up your finished product, I'd love to see it as well. And then come and join me next time for Taking Class Live, because then you can ask me questions or interact, or even just let me see your smile in person or virtually. Okay, bye.